In this season of The Big Talk, you are going to have access to 9 of the incredible speakers who spoke at the virtual showcase from the fall 2022 cohort of the Big Talk Academy. Be sure to tune in to all 9 so that you can be fully inspired and see how these change makers, influential voices, and thought leaders are making a difference in the world. Lisa Wade founded Global Energy Leadership to empower purpose-driven leaders and organizations to confidently harness their personal energy, communication skills, and intuitive gifts to make their most meaningful contribution. International speaker, best-selling author, and Dirt Road Divinity podcast host, Lisa guides others toward joy, connection, and service through intuitive leadership. Everyone, let's welcome to the stage Lisa Wade with From Crazy to Courageous, Reimagining Spiritual Awakening, especially among men in the Heartland.
This may sound crazy, but for nearly 2 decades, I used that phrase to preface conversations that might feel scary. It began when the birth of my daughter blew my heart wide open. Her birth was my spiritual rebirth. I started to feel energy, mine, others, even nature. And when I sat to journal, the inspiring words that popped in my head and out my pen clearly weren't mine. I wondered if I was losing my mind. Even my personality type changed from extreme thinker to more balanced feeler. It was like the snow globe of my life had gotten a big shake. And it's not that uncommon. Author Tim Wild estimates that 2 billion people on the planet have had a spiritual awakening experience. Now, this can be anything from greater awareness of intuitive abilities or more deep connection with others or whatever you feel sacred, or even a shift in awareness that life is about so much more than what we experience through our 5 senses. Research published in the Journal of Science and Healing in September showed that while 41% of Americans reported having had a spiritual awakening experience, seldom did they talk about it for fear of being ridiculed. I understand the self-imposed muzzle that fear can bring, and I've grown to appreciate the courage it takes to find freedom on the other side. When I was 12, my dad came for a weekend visit and took my brother and me bowling. Now, after God knows how many gutter balls, his coaching left me in tears, ending with, "Quit your crying or I'll give you something to cry about." Right then, in a bowling alley in rural Oklahoma, I decided to live exclusively from the neck up. My preteen brain figured smarts don't make you cry. All those messy emotions do, and it just wasn't safe. In shutting down my heart, I also tuned out the intuitive wisdom of my soul. And it turns out this shut it down approach is a bit of a family tradition. Back in the day, my dad and his older brother were bigger than life. They were Harley riding, pool hustling, river floating good old boys. And they were intuitively gifted. Now, they lived in a tiny town in rural Missouri and feared that these intuitive insights either meant they were crazy or worse, might be considered that way by others. So they shut it down. Drunk felt saner than intuitive. Bravado was safer than heart. And the shenanigans that came after hold my beer were the only kind of crazy they wanted to be known for. Today, in their memory, rather than talk about spiritual awakening from the perspective of quantum theories, Kundalini energy, or chakras, I want to talk football and zombies. Now, I love a good football movie, and The Replacements is a family favorite. In one scene, the head coach, played by Gene Hackman, is asked what it will take to turn a losing game around. He replies, heart, miles and miles of heart. We value heart on the football field. It's the stuff legends are made of. But in everyday life, we often see it as a weakness. Research done by the Heart Math Institute quantified that the human heart produces 60 times more electromagnetic power than the brain, yet we continue to undervalue it. After a first failed marriage driven by my head, I decided to try again, this time from the heart. He was a good man, and his huge heart fueled success on the football fields of his youth. But there was no playbook for navigating all the swirling emotions off the field. His heart was talking to him all the time, but rather than decipher its wisdom, he numbed it, first through food, then through alcohol, until finally both his liver and his heart stopped. Now, unlike my dad and late husband, my uncle kind of decided to alter course. He was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and given 6 months to live. He decided to go from being a bourbon monk to a holistic hillbilly. He leaned into the Eastern teachings he picked up through martial arts to focus on his breath, meditation, movement, even the healing power of nature and nutrition. He beat cancer twice and added 8 years to his life. For decades, he drank to silence the benevolent voices in his mind. When he stopped, he longed for those voices to return. It seems intuition and open hearts need better PR. If they were seen through the lens of strength, courage, and freedom, spiritual awakening could be something to embrace, even for men in Middle America. But if I was ever going to recruit a fantasy zombie apocalypse team, my little brother would be my #1 draft pick. He is grounded and strong, brave, filled with practical common sense. He's got great aim. Zombies wouldn't stand a chance. But if I went to him and said, hey, let's create a safe space where we can talk about our feelings and intuition, he'd be like, whoa, yeah, and let me guess. I'll need to check my sidearm at the door, grow a man bun, drink soy lattes, and get all woke. I'll take my chances with the zombies. See, if we were actually fighting the walking dead, at least the opponent would be obvious. Instead, we have a culture that seems hell-bent on creating emotional zombies out of good people by convincing them that heart is weak and intuition is crazy. The revolution comes when we choose to honor our true power and live really free and whole from the power and strength of our body, mind, heart, and soul. Traveling that 18 inches from my head back to my heart was an 18-year journey. Despite that unfortunate bowling alley incident, I knew my dad loved me. But for the longest time, I felt like I failed him and my husband because no amount of love I showed persuaded them to love themselves enough to alter course. Struggles with them taught me more about unconditional love and healthy boundaries than rainbows and butterflies ever could. But in the end, my role was to energetically help walk them home as they took their last breath. Fortunately, my uncle figured it out. To trust the strength of the heart and the wisdom of the soul is neither crazy nor weak. It's a path to greater freedom that requires courage. And on that path, we can help walk each other home. First of all, let's recognize that consciousness conversations are ideas worth sharing. I host a podcast called Dirt Road Divinity to normalize stories of inner wisdom and spiritual awakening. If we bring more content like this to the forefront, we may inspire people to honor their intuition and heart rather than shut it down or numb it out. Second, if someone comes to you with, "This may sound crazy," please honor what comes next. They're about to be vulnerable and they're trusting you. And that is both a huge compliment and a responsibility. Finally, if you feel like the snow globe of your life has been shaken by intuitive insight, don't worry, you're still sane and you don't have to go it alone. Please seek out support. Even in rural Oklahoma, I found open-minded people willing to lend a non-judgmental ear. Every single person deserves to feel sane and supported in their awakening journey. Asking for and offering that support is not a burden. It's called love. When we honor our inner wisdom and that in each other, together we can birth a braver, freer, more conscious world for everyone.
Amazing, Lisa. Wow, 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 wow. Yes. Exhale, baby. Fantastic. Your energy was so, so incredible. The way you describe spiritual awakeness is so relatable and not scary. And I know that was a conscious decision with how you performed it, how you wrote it. It was very, very conscious that you wanted to be relatable. And also bringing the research in the way you did was really, really important. And that you brought it in so early into the talk as well. Very, very smart. How you connected the dots with the men in your family and sharing with us that you had an intuitive wisdom of the soul that you didn't realize. That was really, really important. And then when you talk about the men in rural Missouri, which I'm actually from Missouri. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So I get it. But when you describe rural Missouri, that puts us even deeper into a place of not being in touch with our emotions. So great way to use a description there to make us understand how to feel what it is you're saying. Also, sharing with us that the men were hiding behind their intuition by drinking and having bravado. That is also something that can switch on a light for someone who is listening to this talk or watching this talk and think, well, wait a minute, is that me? Should I maybe look at that? Which is, I think, ultimately what you want this talk to do, is get the men thinking about what's happening and the women in the men's lives to get to thinking about what's happening and to move into love and to move into intuition and all of that. Your football and your zombies analogy is fantastic. There's so much heart on a football field. And why do we numb it everywhere else? I thought was really amazing. Your language choices, super, super strong. And I know that you were very conscious about the words and the language that you chose because of the audience you're speaking to. So I want to highlight that you're doing an incredible job there. Bourbon monk, holistic hillbilly, all of that's fantastic when it comes to the audience that you're speaking to. Also, the facts that you shared about your uncle who added 8 years, uncle, right? Who added 8 years to his life because he tapped into his intuitive higher self. That's another moment here where the research and the facts is really, really important. I also love that you say intuition and open hearts needs better PR. That's such a relatable way to explain it to us, is that, you know, we just don't, we're not talking about it the right way. It just needs better PR. That's amazing. And then talking about recruiting fantasy zombie apocalypse and recruiting your fantasy zombie apocalypse team. I think we've all thought about that, right? Who do we want on our team during the zombie apocalypse? And I think that connecting the dots there to the emotional apocalypse that's happening globally is really, really powerful. You use the word revolution once. I'd love for you to use it more than once, because this is a revolution and we need to be reminded of that. And then again, you're using language in a way that's super relatable for your audience. 18 inches from your heart to your mind, but 18 years from your mind, heart, and soul, and the awakening, really powerful. Confessions of your failure and how you contributed to the emotional zombie apocalypse was really unexpected and appreciated. Well done. This moment, you walked them home to take their last breath. I needed a moment after that. I needed a moment to feel the loss of those souls. And you went very quickly into the next moment. And it happens at the end, and we're on board. We're cheering you on. We're feeling great. There's a lot of humor. We're considering tapping into our own intuition for the first time. But that moment was so perfectly timed, and it was like just right up over the net, and you didn't hit it. You didn't slam it down, right? Give us that time to feel the pain, because we haven't had any of that yet, and I want to in that moment. And then first, second, and finally, the 3 takeaways that you want us to walk away so clearly with, I would like for you to consider the next time that you deliver this talk to imagine speaking to the one man who is listening. Those 3 things, to him, not to us. Yeah. Fantastic work. Amazing, amazing work. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Big Talk. I would love to know what you thought of this incredible speaker. And if you have not yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can get access to all of our upcoming episodes. And if you want to be on my big stage, go to thebigtalkacademy.com and give yourself an opportunity to also speak on the virtual showcase stage. Mwah. Big love, everybody.